Mill lost it at my baby shower and she insulted me, tried to name my baby but ended up getting arrested after making a scene. I am 29F, married to my wonderful husband Gary, and currently expecting our first child. It's been an incredibly exciting journey so far. Gary and I have been together for a long time and tied the knot 4 years ago. Since last year, we've been trying to conceive, and we were overjoyed when I found out I was pregnant 6 months ago. We've been navigating the ups and downs of life side by side, and the news of a little one on the way has brought so much happiness into our relationship. Every day brings us closer to meeting our little nugget, and we're counting down the days. Pregnancy has been a roller coaster of emotions, from the thrill of discovering to the tender moments when I can feel our baby kick my stomach. Gary has been my rock through it all, attending every doctor's appointment, reading parenting books with me, and even helping decorate a cute nursery for our soon-to-arrive baby. We're in full baby mode now, discussing names, decorating the nursery, and planning our future. Gary is beyond excited to be a dad, and it truly warms my heart. He's all in, sharing the load of preparing for the baby as we face both the challenges and joys of pregnancy together, savoring every moment as we prepare to meet our little one. 2 months ago, we decided it was time to share the exciting news about my pregnancy with our family. We waited until we crossed the crucial first trimester milestone and felt completely sure before spreading the joy. We had invited all our parents, close family, and friends for lunch. They arrived expecting a normal meal, but when they saw my growing belly, their expressions shifted to joy and amazement. My mother started crying upon seeing me and confirmed I was indeed pregnant. She understood why we had kept it a secret and was overjoyed to be a grandmother soon. She fully grasped why we kept it private and expressed her excitement about becoming a grandma. However, Gary's mother, Barbara, had a very different reaction. Instead of sharing in the happiness, she reacted with anger upon learning we'd kept the pregnancy hidden. She felt left out and accused me specifically of intentionally excluding her. Despite my attempts to explain our reasons, she kept looking pissed and refused to engage further. Her disapproval cast a shadow over what should have been a joyful family occasion. Throughout the night, Barbara didn't speak to me at all. She showed disrespect not only toward me but also toward my mother, who had always been kind to her in the past. She remained unresponsive during discussions, buried in her phone, while everyone else enjoyed the gathering. It was obvious she was upset, and her discontent was palpable. She openly told everyone she had no idea about my pregnancy, making her feel as if she'd lost precious time with a grandchild who wasn't even born yet. My husband and one of his brothers picked up on her frustration. As the tension grew, I hit my breaking point and stepped outside for a moment to gather myself. My mother, noticing my distress, came to comfort me until I felt ready to return. When the night ended, Barbara made a point of saying goodbye to me last, after observing the disapproving stares from my husband, sister, and parents all day. She barely exchanged more than a hi or bye with me later. My husband then took her to the car, where they argued heatedly. I could hear it clearly from the foyer. Barbara took the opportunity to vent her complaints about me, further escalating the strange situation. Luckily, all our guests had left by then, leaving only me, my parents, Gary, and his parents. She angrily told him she couldn't believe I had the audacity to keep this pregnancy from her and accused me of not considering family. Gary calmly explained that we had decided to wait until we were out of the danger zone and everything was fine before sharing the news. Hearing this, Barbara started yelling. This was how their conversation went. Barbara, this is our grandchild, we deserve to know from the very beginning. Gary, Mom, it's not about deserving or not. It's a decision we made together. She just wanted to be cautious. Barbara, cautious? I am her mother-in-law, she should have trusted me with this. This is all her fault. That's when my husband lost his temper. Up until then, he had held back, but hearing her continue to accuse me, his face turned red with anger. He firmly told her he didn't want to tell her either. If she blamed me, she should blame him too. He told her she needed to get over this and stop overreacting. Barbara then said he should open his eyes, claiming he was letting me control everything and that as his mother, she should have known first if her son was having a grandchild. My husband stood his ground, telling her to stop attacking me, affirming he loved her but that she needed to leave and cool off before saying something she'd regret later. She stormed off, leaving him frustrated and disappointed. I didn't realize I was crying until later. Her harsh words had left me hurt and confused. Gary quickly came to comfort me and gently guided me back inside. My parents, sensing the tension, stayed back until I was emotionally steady. Barbara didn't stop there. Later that night, I received a message from her, and my anxiety shot up as I anticipated what she'd say. It read, I must say I am deeply disappointed in you. You knowingly kept a significant piece of information from me, and I find it absolutely unforgivable. I can't believe you would rob me of the joy of knowing about my grandchild from the very beginning. This is not how a family should operate. I find it disrespectful and hurtful. Instead of apologizing for your immature actions, you're now causing a divide between me and my son. Shame on you." Her words cut deep, and I felt a mix of anger and hurt. I showed the message to Gary, who was beyond furious. He couldn't understand why his mother reacted so negatively and blamed me entirely. He decided to call her, warning her not to send more negative messages, they might upset me further. He even threatened to cut her off if her behavior didn't change. Her reaction to this threat was to change her tune. Instead of admitting fault, she proposed a solution: she would forgive us if we let her throw a baby shower. This sudden change left us both surprised and skeptical. She kept pleading that nothing would make her happier than to throw a grand celebration for me and our baby, promising she'd handle everything. Gary looked at me, curious, but I was wary. Her quick change of heart seemed more like a power move, a way to regain control and reassert her dominance rather than genuine reconciliation. Despite my reservations, Gary, wanting to keep the peace, entertained the idea of accepting her offer. I expressed my concerns, emphasizing that doing so might only encourage her to think her behavior was acceptable. Gary understood my point but hoped that letting her plan the shower could help mend fences and create a more harmonious family environment before the baby arrived. Begrudgingly, I agreed, and Gary told her to start planning. She was overjoyed and expressed gratitude for being given the chance. Despite trusting her to handle the event, I expected some collaboration, hoping for my input, my preferences, a bit of involvement. But, a month out, I discovered she'd gone rogue. She bought decorations, picked games, and planned activities without consulting me. She even kept it a secret from everyone, claiming it was a surprise. When my mother reached out to discuss the shower, Barbara simply said everything had been decided and it was a surprise for me. No communication, no consideration for my wishes, just her doing whatever she pleased. I felt disappointed and frustrated. The event, meant to celebrate the upcoming arrival, was now being shaped entirely without my input. On the day of the shower, I arrived at a local banquet hall, surrounded by friends eager to celebrate. But I immediately noticed the ridiculous decorations, an overwhelming sea of brown and beige balloons, completely her theme. It looked like a misguided safari attempt gone wrong. I had envisioned soft pastels, delicate touches. This was the opposite. The tension escalated when I saw an enormous banner near the entrance, a collage of my husband's baby pictures with Barbara. Everyone looked confused. Why was she displaying pictures of my husband during my baby shower? I asked her, and she just laughed, saying she expected our baby to look exactly like her son and was proud of how cute he was as a child. I stared at her, trying to understand if she'd lost her mind. It was obvious she was making the day about her own memories instead of welcoming our new addition. As more guests arrived, their expressions ranged from confusion to polite discomfort. The decor, combined with the banner of my husband and Barbara, created an atmosphere far from the elegant, joyful celebration I had imagined. I exchanged anxious glances with friends who felt the same. When my mother entered, her eyes widened in shock at the chaos Barbara had unleashed. Her gaze locked onto the banner, and I could see her disbelief at the audacity of the display, more a showcase of my husband's childhood than a celebration of my baby. Without hesitation, my mother walked over and, in silence, tore down the banner, removing it from its prominent spot. The room went still, all eyes on her. I felt a wave of gratitude for her unwavering support as she took down what had been an intrusive, inappropriate display. My mill, busy chatting with guests, looked on in horror as my mother threw the banner into the trash. She asked, in a disapproving tone, "What do you think you're doing?" That banner was a special touch. But my mother, unfazed, responded firmly. "This celebration is about my daughter and her baby, not a showcase of your personal achievements." The guests watched in discomfort as the confrontation unfolded. My mill, sensing the attention shift, tried to regain control. I thought it would be nice for everyone to see who's responsible for this beautiful event. I wanted everyone to see how cute Gary was as a kid. My mother shot back, "Barbara, you begged my daughter to let you throw this shower after your behavior last time. This is her day, not a platform for your ego." The room hushed as the exchange grew tense. Realizing her attempt to dominate the narrative had fallen flat, Mill retreated with a forced smile, returning to her conversations. The shower went on, and I did my best to focus on the positive, playing games, opening gifts, and celebrating with friends. But then, it happened again. My mother-in-law, still drinking more than she should, handed me a huge, suspiciously extravagant gift box with a giant G on it. The room fell silent. I felt embarrassment and frustration. My mother looked at her angrily. Guests exchanged awkward glances, unsure how to respond. To avoid making things worse, I forced a polite thank you, hiding my annoyance. When it was time for the cake, Barbara had ordered a show-stopping cake, decorated extravagantly. She made a big display, clinking her glass to get everyone's attention. I was starting to get annoyed, wondering what she was up to now. She then announced she'd come up with the perfect name for our baby girl. I froze. We hadn't even decided on a name yet. She proudly declared the baby would be named after her great-grandmother, a name that sounded like it belonged in a Victorian novel. I was stunned and irritated. She assumed she had the right to name our child. I politely explained that my husband and I wanted to choose the name ourselves. But she was insistent. She claimed she had the perfect name and that if I was a good daughter-in-law, I'd accept it, especially since she'd spent so much on the shower. I told her only my husband and I had that right, regardless of who hosted. That's when she started shouting at me in front of everyone. "You're extremely disrespectful. Be grateful for all I've done." She criticized my upbringing, insisting I should thank her instead of denying her the right to name our baby. She pointed her fingers at my face and kept shouting. My mother stepped in as a shield, trying to de-escalate. Barbara kept shouting, claiming she was the real mother because she gave birth to my husband and it was her sperm that impregnated me. Her words were disgusting. Despite my mother's efforts to calm her, Barbara only grew angrier, insulting me, saying my mom did a terrible job raising me. It was obvious she'd had too much to drink, and talking sense to her was pointless. The situation escalated, making everyone uncomfortable. Realizing I'd endured enough humiliation, I decided to leave, walking out with the gifts my friends had brought, leaving behind the presents my mill had given me. But Barbara, in her drunken state, snatched the gifts from my hands and threw them on the ground, calling me ungrateful and a witch interfering with her family. The tension grew, and I noticed some guests filming the chaos. In an effort to regain control, I asked a close friend to kindly ask everyone to leave. Barbara kept hurling nasty accusations, and the scene became unimaginable. What should have been a joyful celebration turned into chaos. Frustrated, I finally decided I had no choice but to call the police, to remove her from my presence because I felt extremely unsafe with her aggressive behavior. Yes, I called the cops at my own baby shower, all because of her toxicity. When the officers arrived, Barbara went into full drama mode, pointing fingers at me, claiming I was the mastermind behind everything. The police, thankfully, tried to reason with her, but she resisted, drunk and yelling at them, which only made things worse. She was arrested on the spot. I left with my mother and close friends, shaken and upset by the whole ordeal. Since then, my husband and I have been trying to deal with the aftermath. His family is divided, some see her toxicity clearly, others are still sympathetic. Gary understands why I called the police but thinks I might have gone too far. He believes I could have called him or his dad for help. So, Reddit, I ask, was I right to call the cops on Mill for ruining my baby shower and acting like she's the real grandma? Update 1, I'm overwhelmed by the response I've received since sharing my story. Thank you all for supporting my decision to involve the police. I'd never seen such aggression from Mill before. She usually shows herself only during holidays, never like this. Her level of hostility at the shower made me genuinely worried she might physically harm me, especially considering my pregnancy. Since the incident, every guest has reached out to show support. Some even shared recordings of the chaos, which I plan to show my husband. My goal is to have a serious talk with him about the future with his mother. Update 2, I showed him the recordings. We sat down and watched everything, the escalating behavior, the accusations, the bizarre gifts. He looked horrified. Seeing the videos was a reality check for him. He apologized sincerely for not realizing how bad it was and admitted I was right to call the cops. He told me he's sorry I had to go through that. His face reflected regret and frustration. He'd never imagined his mother could be so toxic. He reassured me he's on my side and that our safety, especially during pregnancy, is his priority. We then discussed the underlying issues, how her need for control and validation had overshadowed what should have been a joyful time. Gary shared his concerns, acknowledging her behavior crossed a line. I told him I want to cut all ties with her, at least until she seeks counseling for her aggression. He agreed it was beyond disgusting and said he's willing to cut her off. I told him he's free to have a relationship with her if he wants, but our child and I will not be involved until she changes. He said he would handle that conversation himself. He also warned her that if she shows up unannounced and tries to force her way back into our lives, I'll call the cops again. Update 3, it's been a month since my last update. The baby and I are doing well, so close to meeting our little one. We've cut off all contact with Barbara. Gary spoke to his parents, and his dad assured him he'd take steps to ensure Barbara respects our boundaries. Since going no contact, our home has felt peaceful again. No more drama, just focus on preparing for the arrival. The support from friends and family has been invaluable. Some relatives who didn't see the full extent of Barbara's behavior have since expressed understanding and support after seeing the viral videos. While challenges remain, this experience has strengthened our bond and taught us the importance of standing united. Deciding to cut her out wasn't easy, but it was necessary for our well-being. We're now focused on building a loving, supportive environment for our child, prioritizing safety and happiness above all.